Before we start building our first web page, we need first to properly set up a Dreamweaver site. This is an important early step because if you don't set up your Dreamweaver sites correctly, you'll be in constant trouble later in the site building and publishing processes. In Dreamweaver, the term site refers to a local or remote location for the documents that make up a website. A site can be thought of as a collection of all the files, graphics, photos, videos, and other documents and files in your website. We can see an example of a Dreamweaver site. If we open up one of my websites, we're going to open up the Files panel, which you can access via the main menu window, Files. That'll open up this panel right here. You can see that this site is composed of images, PHP files, there's probably some HTML files in here as well, graphics, CSS files, and so on. A Dreamweaver site provides a way to organize and manage all of your web documents, upload your site to a web server, track and maintain your links, and manage and share your files. You define a site to take full advantage of the Dreamweaver page creation and site management features, and you really need to do this site definition before you build any pages or do any more work related to your Dreamweaver website. To define a Dreamweaver site, you really only need to establish a local folder. Later, if you want to transfer files to a web server so you can share your site with the world, you'll need to add information to connect correctly to that web server, but again, more about this later in the course. For now, I recommend establishing a folder in an obvious, easy to find location on your computer's hard drive. Here I have my hard drive, and I'm going to just simply click on Macintosh hard drive, File, New Folder should do it. Let's go ahead and open this and choose New Folder, and then provide a name to that folder. Something again very descriptive and easy to find and remember, my website, for example. And then this will serve as my local root folder where I will save all of my assets to my website. Now, a Dreamweaver site can consist of as few as 2 folders. You probably want to have one folder for your HTML files and CSS files and another folder for your image file. So let's create another folder inside of my root folder, call this images with a lowercase I, like so. Later, as you develop more complex and ambitious websites, you can add more than just this one single folder. You can create sites with many folders, maybe 4 folders containing a variety of different HTML files and consisting of different sections of your website, like the blue section, red section, yellow section. But now that you've established your local root folder, set up an images subfolder inside of it, we're now finally ready to set up our Dreamweaver site. So let's go back to Dreamweaver, and then from the main menu here at the top of the Dreamweaver workspace, let's choose Site, New Site. That'll bring up the Site Setup dialog box for this unnamed site. First thing you want to do is provide a site name. This is simply the name that appears in the Files panel and in the Manage Sites dialog box. It does not appear in the browser. You want to use a name to help you recognize the site among several sites that might reside on your local computer. So I'm going to go ahead and call this my first website. It can also contain spaces and uppercase letters. Again, this is the site name that will appear in your list of sites. I'll show you that in a moment. Next thing you want to do is set up your local site root folder. In other words, point to the location of the folder that you just created. In this case, it was on my Macintosh hard drive, and it was my website. So let's choose that one, and then click on Choose here in the lower right-hand corner. Make sure that everything is OK. Next, click on Advanced Settings, open up that part of the dialog, and then here under Local Info, make sure that your default images folder is the images folder that you've set up previously. My website /images. links relative to document is the default. Make sure that yours is the same. Next, enter your web URL. This is the URL or domain name of your site. If you don't have a remote server defined, you can leave that blank. Next, make sure you enable case-sensitive link checking, and also make sure there's a check, which is the default, next to enable cache. The cache maintains file and asset information in the site. This will speed up the assets panel and link management features that I'll cover later in the course. Make sure that everything is set up appropriately. Go back, click on Site, make sure that the site name and local site folder are still correct, and then click on the Save button to save that site. Notice that Dreamweaver will open up the Files panel so you can see your new site. By the way, the site name is going to come up here when you choose Site Manage Sites. Notice that I have several sites on this computer that I'm working with. So that's why you want to make sure this is descriptive so you can find it among the list of other websites or Dreamweaver websites on your computer. So there you have your first Dreamweaver site. We're now ready to start creating pages.